Commander Sarah Chen floated in the darkness of space, her small ship hidden behind an asteroid. The metal walls around her hummed quietly as she waited. She had been tracking the Council ships for 3 days now. Something was wrong with their usual patrol routes, and Sarah wanted to know what. The Galactic Council had protected Earth for 50 years. At least, that was what everyone believed. They gave humans technology, helped them build colonies on other worlds, and kept them safe from the dangerous aliens that lived in the dark parts of space. Sarah had always been grateful for their help. Her father had died fighting in the border wars, protecting human settlements from raiders. The Council had told them these wars were necessary to keep Earth safe. But now, watching the Council ships move in patterns that made no sense of protection, Sarah felt doubt growing in her chest like a cold stone. Her communication system beeped softly. Council ships were talking to each other using their private channels. Sarah had spent months learning how to break into these channels. The Council thought humans were too simple to understand their advanced codes. They were wrong. The first voice that came through her speakers was calm and cold. It belonged to High Counselor Vex, a tall alien with blue skin that Sarah had met many times at diplomatic meetings. He had always smiled at her with what she thought was kindness. Now his words made her blood turn to ice. The human population on Colony 7 has grown by 12% this cycle, Vex said. This is unacceptable. We need another conflict to reduce their numbers. Sarah's hand stopped moving over her controls. She stared at the communication display, hoping she had heard wrong. A second voice replied. This one belonged to War Minister Kelt, whose people looked like giant insects. The border wars are becoming suspicious. Humans are starting to ask why the raiders always know exactly where to attack. Perhaps we should try disease instead. No, Vex said. Disease is too random. We need something that targets their military leaders specifically. Their warrior instincts are starting to show again. Yesterday, a human squad defeated one of our test units using only basic weapons. They should not be able to do this. Sarah felt sick. Test units? The Council had been testing human soldiers? The genetic suppressants are losing effectiveness, Kel continued. Human children are being born stronger and faster than the previous generation. Dr. Harrison on Earth has been asking questions about the medicine we provide. We may need to remove him. Do it quietly, Vex ordered. Make it look like an accident. And increase the suppressant doses in the water supply. We cannot allow humans to reach their natural potential. Sarah's mind raced. Dr. Harrison was her friend's father. He had always said the Council's medicine made him feel strange, but everyone told him he was imagining things. Now she knew he was right. What about the memory blocks? Another voice asked. This alien Sarah did not recognize. Working perfectly, Vex replied with satisfaction. Humans remember just enough history to be grateful for our protection, but not enough to understand what they really are. They have no idea that their species conquered half this galaxy before we stopped them. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. She gripped the sides of her chair, her knuckles turning white. Humans had conquered half the galaxy? That was impossible. Earth was a small, weak planet that needed protection. The ancient war records remain hidden, the unknown voice asked. Buried so deep that humans will never find them, Vex confirmed. They believe they were primitives until we uplifted them. They have no memory of the great human war, when their fleets turned entire star systems into graveyards. They do not remember why the galaxy once trembled at the mention of Earth. Sarah felt something breaking inside her chest. Every story she had been told, every history lesson, every reason for human weakness was a lie. The containment protocols are holding, Kelt reported. Humans remain divided into small groups, fighting wars we create for them. They waste their energy on conflicts that serve our purposes. As long as they never unite as one species, they remain manageable. Good, Vex said. Remember, humans are not like other species. They do not just fight to win. They fight to completely destroy their enemies. They turn everything around them into weapons. They sacrifice themselves without fear if it means victory for their people. This is why they must never be allowed to remember what they are. Sarah's hands were shaking now. She thought about all the human soldiers she knew, all the brilliant tactics they used, all the impossible victories they had won with limited resources. She had always been proud of human cleverness in battle. Now she understood why. The psychological experiments continue. Vex asked. Yes, Kelt replied. We take their best warriors and break their spirits in our research facilities. We study how they think, how they plan, how they inspire others. Each broken human teaches us new ways to keep the rest of them weak. Sarah thought about her brother Marcus, who had disappeared during a council exchange program 2 years ago. They had told her he died in an accident. Now she wondered if he was still alive, trapped in some alien laboratory. How many humans know the truth? The unknown voice asked. Perhaps a dozen across all human worlds, Vex answered. We monitor them carefully. Most go insane when they learn what their species really is. The others we eliminate before they can spread the knowledge. And if humans ever do remember, if they ever unite and reach their full potential. There was a long silence. When Vex finally spoke, his voice was filled with fear. Then may the stars have mercy on us all, he said quietly, because an awakened humanity will show us none. The communication ended. Sarah sat in the darkness, her mind struggling to process what she had heard. Everything was a lie. Every human death, every lost colony, every moment of weakness had been planned by the Council. They had turned humanity into slaves and made them grateful for chains. But now Sarah knew the truth, and she was not going to keep it secret. She started her ship's engines and set course for the hidden human resistance base on Kepler Station. The leaders there needed to hear this recording. Every human in the galaxy needed to know what had been done to them. As her ship moved through space toward its destination, Sarah felt something new growing inside her. It was not just anger, though anger was part of it. It was something deeper and more dangerous. It was a feeling of a sleeping giant beginning to wake up. The Council had made one terrible mistake. They had let a human discover their lies. Now they would learn why the galaxy had once feared Earth. The recording spread through the human underground like fire through dry grass. Sarah Chen sat in the hidden meeting room beneath Kepler Station, watching as resistance leaders from across human space listened to the Council's words. Their faces changed from confusion to horror to something much more dangerous. Dr. Marcus Torres was the first to speak when the recording ended. His voice was quiet but filled with cold anger. They poisoned us, he said. For 50 years, they have been poisoning our children. Marcus had always been different from other humans. Even with the Council's medicine in his system, he was faster and stronger than he should be. His mind worked in ways that amazed even other doctors. Now he understood why the Council's medical treatments always made him feel sick and slow. I need to get to my laboratory, Marcus continued, standing up quickly. If they have been using genetic suppressants, I can reverse them. I can find out what humans are really supposed to be. Sarah nodded. Do it, but be careful. The Council is watching all human scientists now. Across the room, Captain Elena Vasquez was studying intelligence reports on her tablet. Elena commanded a small fleet of human ships that officially worked for the Council but secretly served the Resistance. She was known for being able to win battles that should have been impossible. These research facilities, Elena said, pointing at locations on her map. The Council has been taking humans to 17 different sites across the galaxy. They call them cultural exchange programs and advanced training centers. But according to this data, no humans ever come back. Sarah felt her heart grow heavy. My brother was supposed to be at one of those facilities. Then we get him back, Elena said simply. We get all of them back. The meeting continued for hours as they planned their next moves. As Sarah listened to the other resistance leaders, she noticed something strange. Everyone in the room was sharper than usual. Their ideas were better, their planning more detailed. It was as if learning the truth had awakened something in all of them. 3 days later, Marcus made his first breakthrough. He had been working without sleep in his secret laboratory, testing samples of Council medicine and comparing them to pure human blood. What he found made him call Sarah immediately. You need to see this, Marcus said when Sarah arrived. His eyes were bright with excitement and fury. Look at these scans. On his computer screen were 2 images of human DNA. One was labeled before treatment, and the other after treatment. Sarah could see the difference even though she was not a scientist. The DNA after treatment looked damaged, like something had been deliberately broken. The Council medicine does not just make us weaker, Marcus explained. It changes our genetic code. It turns off the parts of human DNA that made us natural warriors. Look at this. He showed Sarah another scan, this one comparing human DNA to alien DNA. Humans should be 3 times stronger than we are now. Our reflexes should be twice as fast. Our brain should process information so quickly that we can predict what enemies will do before they do it. Sarah stared at the scans. Can you fix it? I already have, Marcus said with a smile that was not entirely pleasant. I created a treatment that reverses the Council's poison. I tested it on myself first. As if to prove his point, Marcus moved across the room faster than Sarah could follow. One moment he was standing by the computer, the next he was at the far wall. His movement was so smooth and quick that it looked like magic. The changes started immediately, Marcus said, appearing back at Sarah's side. Strength, speed, mental clarity. But there's something else, something the Council feared most of all. What? Unity, Marcus said. When humans reach their natural potential, they stop fighting each other. They become one people with one purpose. The Council's greatest weapon against us was keeping us divided. But awakened humans cannot be divided. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She understood now why the Council was so afraid. Meanwhile, Elena was putting together her rescue mission. She had selected 20 of the best human soldiers from across the Resistance. They were preparing to attack a Council research facility on the edge of known space. The facility was heavily defended, but Elena had a plan. Remember, she told her team as they prepared their weapons, we are not just rescuing prisoners. We are proving to ourselves what we really are. The assault began at dawn on the planet Zirian Prime. Elena's ships came out of hyperspace like ghosts, using stealth technology that the Council did not know humans possessed. The aliens defending the facility were caught completely off guard. What happened next would be talked about in whispers across the galaxy for years to come. The human soldiers moved through the facility like a force of nature. They did not just fight the aliens, they hunted them. Every corridor became a trap, every room a killing ground. The humans worked together with perfect coordination, as if they shared one mind. Elena found the research labs in the deepest part of the facility. What she saw there filled her with a rage so pure and cold that the alien scientists fled in terror just from looking at her face. Hundreds of humans were held in cells, many of them barely alive from years of experiments. But their eyes were still bright with intelligence and determination. When Elena opened the first cell, the prisoner inside looked at her and smiled. I knew you would come, he said. I could feel other humans getting stronger. The connection is returning. His name was David Chen, Sarah's younger brother. He had been a prisoner for 2 years, but the experiments had not broken him. Instead, they had taught him exactly how the Council thought and planned. He had been studying his captors the entire time. They are terrified of us, David told Elena as they freed the other prisoners. The aliens who run these experiments, they shake when they have to come near human cells. They know what we are capable of when we stop holding back. As Elena's team fought their way out of the facility, something remarkable happened. The freed human prisoners did not just follow them, they joined the battle. Even after years of torture and experimentation, they moved like warriors. They fought with a skill and fury that made the alien defenders panic and run. The rescue mission was perfect. Every human prisoner was saved, and the research facility was completely destroyed. But more importantly, word of the rescue spread across the galaxy. Other species began to realize that something had changed about humans. Back on Kepler Station, Marcus was working day and night to produce more of his genetic reversal treatment. Sarah was organizing distribution networks to get the treatment to human colonies across space. And Elena was planning larger and more daring attacks on Council facilities. But the most important change was happening in the humans themselves. As more of them received Marcus's treatment and learned the truth about their history, they began to remember things their species had forgotten. They remembered what it felt like to be the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The beast was waking up, and it was hungry for justice. Admiral James Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the massive Council military station grow larger on the screen. Titan Base was supposed to be impossible to attack. It had shields that could stop any weapon, defense systems that never missed, and enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. The Council had built Titan Base to show the galaxy their power. For 30 years, no enemy had even tried to attack it. Today, that would change. James was different now. 3 weeks ago, he had received Marcus's genetic treatment. The change was incredible. His mind worked faster than ever before. He could see patterns in space combat that he had never noticed. Most importantly, he could feel the other awakened humans around him, their thoughts connected to his in ways that seemed impossible. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Commander Lisa Jong from her position at the communication station. She was also awakened, and James could sense a calm confidence even without looking at her. Around Titan Base, 40 human ships moved into position. They were smaller than the Council's massive warships, but they moved with perfect coordination. Every captain knew exactly what the others would do without needing orders. "Begin the attack," James said quietly. What happened next changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The human ships did not charge at Titan Base like normal attackers would. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that looked random but were perfectly planned. The Council's defense systems tried to track them but could not predict where they would go next. Captain Sarah Chen, now commanding her own ship in the fleet, led the first wave. Her ship dove toward the station's lower levels, firing at what looked like empty space. The Council defenders thought she was wasting ammunition until they realized she was shooting at the station's sensor arrays. Without sensors, the mighty defense guns could not see their targets. Other human ships used tactics that made no sense to alien minds. They fired their weapons not at the station, but at pieces of space debris, turning floating rocks into high-speed missiles. They used their own ships as shields to other ships, timing their movements so perfectly that they never actually collided. General Yuki Tanaka was leading the ground assault. Her transport ships slipped through the chaos of the space battle and attached themselves to Titan Base like insects on a giant tree. When her soldiers cut through the hull and entered the station, the real nightmare began for the Council defenders. Human soldiers in space stations were terrifying. They did not fight like other species, who preferred open battles with clear lines. Humans turned every corridor into a trap, every room into a killing zone. They used the station's own systems against its defenders. Yuki's soldiers took control of the life support systems and began changing the air mixture, making it hard for aliens to breathe while leaving humans unaffected. They hacked into the internal communication system and used it to spread fear and confusion among the defenders. They even turned off the artificial gravity in some sections, then used their superior reflexes to fight in zero gravity while their enemies floated helplessly. But the most terrifying thing was how the humans worked together. They moved like parts of a single organism, each soldier knowing exactly where the others were and what they were doing. When one human was wounded, others immediately covered their position. When they found a strong point that needed to be taken, they attacked it from 6 different directions at the same time. Colonel Alex Petrov led a team that captured the station's command center. The alien officers inside surrendered immediately when they saw him coming. They had heard stories about what humans did to enemies who fought back, and they did not want to test those stories. "Please," one of the alien commanders begged. "We surrender. Do not hurt us." Alex looked at the alien with cold eyes. "You should have thought about mercy when you were experimenting on human children," he said. Back in space, Admiral Morrison was coordinating the final phase of the attack. The Council had sent their emergency response fleet to save Titan Base, but it was too late. The human ships had already disabled the station's main weapons and shields. When the Council reinforcement arrived, they found something that filled them with horror. The human fleet was not damaged or tired from their attack. Instead, they were stronger and more coordinated than when the battle began. Fighting together had awakened something in them, made them remember what their species was truly capable of. The Council fleet tried to retreat, but the humans would not let them go. This was not just a battle anymore. It was a demonstration. The galaxy needed to see what happened when humans stopped pretending to be weak. The Council ships were destroyed one by one, not through overwhelming firepower, but through tactics so advanced that they seemed like magic. Human ships appeared where they should not be able to go, attacked from angles that should have been impossible, and coordinated their strikes with precision that no other species could match. Commander Lisa Jong was monitoring communications across the galaxy during the battle. She could hear alien governments and military leaders talking to each other, their voices filled with panic and disbelief. "How are they doing this?" one alien admiral asked. "It is not possible," another replied. Humans are supposed to be weak. They need our protection. Then why are they destroying our most powerful base? A third voice demanded. Lisa smiled as she listened. The galaxy was beginning to understand. When the battle ended, Titan Base was under human control. Every council ship in the area had been destroyed or captured. Most importantly, the humans had suffered almost no losses. They had won a perfect victory against an enemy that was supposed to be unbeatable. James stood in the captured command center of Titan Base, looking at the record the council had kept there. What he found made his blood boil. Files about human experiments, plans for future suppressions, and detailed studies of human psychology designed to keep them weak and divided. But there was something else in the files, something that made James smile with cold satisfaction. Reports from council spies about human activities, all of them concluding that humans were becoming too dangerous to control. They knew this day would come, James said to Yuki as she joined him in the command center. They knew we would eventually remember what we are. Then they should have been nicer to us, Yuki replied. The victory at Titan Base sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in 50 years, a council military installation had been completely destroyed. More importantly, it had been destroyed by the species that the council claimed to protect. On worlds across known space, other species watched the recordings of the battle and began to ask questions. If humans were really as weak as the council said, how had they won such an impossible victory? If humans really needed protection, why were they the ones doing the protecting now? The council tried to control the information, but it was too late. The truth was spreading, and with it came fear. The galaxy was remembering why they had once been afraid of Earth. In the depths of space, more human fleets were gathering. The awakening was spreading to every human colony, every human ship, every human soldier. The beast was not just waking up anymore. It was standing up, and it was very, very angry. Colonel Alex Petro floated in the darkness between stars, his stealth ship invisible to all sensors. Around him, 19 other human ships waited like hungry wolves. They had been tracking the Council supply convoy for 6 days, learning its patterns, studying its weaknesses. The convoy was carrying medical supplies to Council worlds, or so the official report said. Alex knew better. His team had intercepted the real manifest. The ships were full of genetic suppressant drugs, the same poison the Council had been feeding to humans for 50 years. These drugs were meant for the Zelani colonies, where the Council was trying to weaken another species that showed too much independence. Alex would not let that happen. The hunt had begun, and humans were very good at hunting. Target convoy is entering the Kepler Nebula, reported Lieutenant Maria Santos from her ship nearby. All escorts are following standard protection patterns. Alex smiled. Standard patterns were predictable patterns, and predictable enemies were dead enemies. Execute Shadow Strike, Alex ordered. The human ships moved like ghosts through the nebula's colorful gases. They did not attack the convoy directly. Instead, they began destroying everything around it. Communication relays exploded in silent flashes. Navigation beacons went dark. Emergency supply stations that had served this trade route for decades simply vanished. The Council escort ships tried to respond, but they could not fight an enemy they could not see. Human stealth technology had always been good, but awakened humans had made it perfect. They understood how to use every shadow, every electromagnetic field, every piece of space debris to hide their presence. Within an hour, the convoy was alone in a dead zone of space where nothing worked and no help could come. Only then did the human ships reveal themselves. Council vessels. Alex broadcast on all frequencies. You are carrying poison meant to harm innocent people. Surrender your cargo and you will be allowed to live. The Council commander's response was exactly what Alex expected. You are terrorists and pirates. We will never surrender to human scum. Alex had hoped the alien would say something like that. It made what came next much easier. The human ships did not destroy the convoy quickly. That would have been merciful, and mercy was something humans no longer felt for the Council. Instead, they disabled the ships piece by piece. First the weapons, then the engines, then the life support systems. The Council crews found themselves floating helplessly in dead ships, completely at human mercy. But Alex was not finished. He had the disabled ships towed to the nearest Council world and left them in orbit where everyone could see them. Attached to each ship was a simple message. This is what happens to those who poison children. More will follow. The message spread across the galaxy faster than light. Other species began to understand that the humans were not just fighting a war. They were delivering justice, one target at a time. Ambassador Lisa John was doing her own kind of hunting in the halls of the Galactic Senate. She walked through the great chamber where representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to make laws and treaties. But today, the chamber was half empty. Many species had stopped attending meetings after Titan Base fell. Lisa found the remaining council members huddled in a small conference room, arguing in frightened whispers. When she entered the room, their conversation stopped immediately. "Gentlemen," Lisa said politely, taking a seat at their table without being invited. "We need to talk." High Counselor Vex stared at her with barely hidden fear. "You have no right to be here. Humans are not members of the Inner Council." "You are correct," Lisa replied with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Humans are not members. We are your judges." She placed a data tablet on the table between them. On the screen were files that the Council thought had been destroyed long ago. Records of human experiments, genetic manipulation programs, manufacture wars, and the systematic murder of human leaders who had asked too many questions. "This is our evidence," Lisa continued. 50 years of crimes against humanity. Every death, every lie, every stolen child. We have it all. War Minister Kelt tried to sound brave. "Even if these files are real, what do you expect us to do? The past cannot be changed." "You are right," Lisa agreed. "The past cannot be changed, but the future can be. You have 3 choices." She held up one finger. "First choice, you can try to fight us. We both know how that will end." A second finger. "Second choice, you can try to run and hide. We will find you. Humans are very good at tracking down their enemies." A third finger. "Third choice, you can face justice with dignity and accept the punishment you have earned." "What punishment?" Vex asked, his voice barely a whisper. "You will experience what you put us through," Lisa said simply. "You will live under human protection, the same way you made us live under yours. You will take our medicine, follow our rules, and be grateful for our generosity. The only difference is that we will not lie to you about what we are doing." The room fell silent. The council members looked at each other with growing horror. They understood the terrible irony of what Lisa was offering. They would become the protected species, helpless and dependent on human goodwill. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Captain Elena Vasquez was leading the systematic destruction of council infrastructure. Her fleet moved from system to system, not conquering worlds but removing the tools of oppression. On Altair Prime, they destroyed the genetic research laboratories where alien scientists had been trying to recreate human DNA. On Beta Centauri, they captured the communication arrays that the Council used to coordinate their lives. On Wolf 359, they liberated the prison camps where political dissidents from dozens of species had been held. But Elena's most important target was a data storage facility on Proxima Station. This was where the Council kept all their secret files, including the true history of humanity that had been hidden for so long. The attack on Proxima Station was not like the battle at Titan Base. There was no massive fleet engagement, no dramatic explosions. Elena simply walked into the facility with 10 human soldiers and asked politely for access to the archives. The alien guards took one look at the humans and stepped aside without a word. They had heard what happened to Council forces that tried to resist, and they were not brave enough to test those stories. In the deepest vaults of Proxima Station, Elena found what she was looking for. Thousands of files about the Great Human War, the conflict that had ended with humanity's defeat and suppression. The files told a story that no human alive remembered, but every alien feared. Humanity had not been conquerors in the traditional sense. They had been liberators. When they found species being oppressed by stronger neighbors, humans had fought to free them. When they discovered world where people suffered under cruel rulers, humans had removed those rulers. They had built an empire not of subjects, but of allies who followed them because they wanted to. The Council had stopped them not through superior strength, but through treachery. They had pretended to surrender, then poisoned the human leadership during peace negotiations. With their greatest leaders dead, humanity had collapsed into confusion and civil war. The Council had then moved in as peacekeepers, slowly taking control while humans fought each other. Elena read file after file, her anger growing colder and more focused with each revelation. The Council had not just suppressed humanity. They had turned the galaxy's greatest force for justice into victims. But those days were ending. Elena transmitted the files to every human ship, every human colony, every human resistance cell. Within hours, awakened humans across the galaxy knew their true history. They remembered what they had been fighting for before the Council destroyed them. They remembered that they were not just warriors, but protectors of the innocent and enemies of tyranny. The hunt was no longer just about revenge. It was about finishing what their ancestors had started. The galaxy was about to learn that an awakened humanity was the most dangerous force in the universe, not because they were cruel, but because they were just. General Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution as it dropped out of hyperspace above the Council homeworld. Behind her stretched the largest human fleet ever assembled, over 3,000 ships carrying the awakened fury of an entire species. But this was not an invasion. This was a reckoning. The planet below was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded Sarah of Earth. For centuries, this world had been the center of galactic power, the place where decisions were made that affected billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Today, that would end. All Council defense fleets are withdrawing, reported Commander David Chen, Sarah's brother who had survived 2 years of Council experiments. They are not even trying to fight us. Sarah was not surprised. The Council's military forces had been broken in dozens of battles across the galaxy. More importantly, their will to fight was gone. When your enemies could appear anywhere, strike from impossible angles, and coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously, warfare became hopeless. Open a channel to the planetary government, Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the Council's emergency meeting chamber. The surviving leaders sat around a circular table, their faces pale with fear and defeat. High Counselor Vex looked older than Sarah remembered, his blue skin now gray with stress. Members of the Galactic Council, Sarah began, her voice calm and cold. You have lost. Your fleets are destroyed, your allies have abandoned you, and your lies have been exposed to the entire galaxy. I am here to offer you the same choice you once gave humanity. Vex tried to maintain his dignity. What choice is that, General? Submit to our protection, or face extinction, Sarah replied. The same words you used when you came to Earth 50 years ago. The same false choice you gave to dozens of other species before you crushed them under your heel. War Minister Kelt leaned forward, his insect-like face twisted with anger. You cannot do this. We are the Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. And in those 1,000 years, how many species did you weaken? How many worlds did you control through lies and poison? How many children did you steal for your experiments? Sarah's voice remained steady, but everyone watching could feel the rage beneath her words. Admiral Morrison's voice came through the communication system from his position with the orbital fleet. General, we are detecting movement in the underground bunkers. Council leaders are trying to escape through hidden tunnels. Sarah smiled. Let them run. We know where every tunnel leads, where every escape ship is hidden, where every safe house exists. We have been planning this moment for months. She was telling the truth. Human intelligence networks had mapped every secret facility on the Council homeworld. Awakened humans were not just better fighters than their enemies had expected. They were better at everything, including espionage and planning. You have 1 hour to make your decision, Sarah continued. Surrender and accept human protection, or we will take this world by force and hunt down every council member individually. Either way, your rule ends today. The transmission ended, leaving the council members alone with their fear. On the planet's surface, Colonel Alex Petrov was leading teams of human soldiers through the capital city. But they were not attacking. Instead, they were protecting the civilian population and destroying symbols of council power. The great statues that showed council leaders as benevolent protectors were pulled down and replaced with memorials to the victims of council crimes. The massive buildings where council bureaucrats had planned the suppression of other species were occupied by human forces who began releasing classified files to the public. Most importantly, Alex's teams were distributing genetic reversal treatments to every species that had been weakened by council medicine. The Zelani, who had been made passive and dependent, began to remember their warrior heritage. The Altarians, whose intelligence had been suppressed, started to think clearly for the first time in generations. Dozens of other species began to reclaim their true nature. Ambassador Lisa Jong was in the Council archives, broadcasting the content to every world in the galaxy. The files contained proof of crimes that went back centuries. Manufactured plagues, genetic weapons, the systematic murder of leaders who questioned council authority, and detailed plans of controlling entire populations through fear and dependency. Let everyone see what their protectors really were, Lisa said as she transmitted another batch of files. Let them understand that the council never protected anyone. They only protected their own power. But the most shocking discovery came from the deepest vaults, files that even most council members had never seen. These documents revealed the truth about humanity's original defeat. The peace negotiations had been a trap. Council agents had used a biological weapon designed specifically to target human genetics, killing the entire human leadership in a single coordinated strike. The weapon had been based on research stolen from human scientists who had trusted the Council as allies. Humanity had been betrayed by the very people they had been trying to help. When this information reached the human fleet, the change was immediate. Every awakened human felt a connection to their fallen ancestors, the leaders who had died believing they were making peace with honorable enemies. The rage that had been building for months crystallized into something pure and terrible. The Council's hour of decision time ended with no response. Sarah was not surprised. She gave the final order. Begin planetary occupation. Rules of engagement are simple. Protect all civilians, capture all council members alive, and destroy every symbol of their authority. This world is now under human protection. The occupation was swift and complete. Human forces moved through the cities like they had been planning this operation for years, which they had. Every government building was secured, every council member captured, every database seized. But the humans did not act like conquerors. They acted like liberators, which was what they had always been. They provided food and medical care to civilians, restored communication networks that the Council had restricted, and began the process of freeing political prisoners who had been held in secret facilities. High Councilor Vex was brought before Sarah in chains. He looked at her with a mixture of fear and confusion. "Why are you not killing us?" he asked. "We would have killed you." "Because we are not you," Sarah replied. "We do not murder our enemies in secret or poison their children. We believe in justice, not revenge." Vex stared at her. "What will happen to us?" "You will live under human protection," Sarah explained. "You will take our medicine, which will undo the genetic modifications you made to yourselves to live longer and think faster. You will follow our rules and be grateful for our generosity. You will experience exactly what you forced others to endure." "That is not justice," Vex protested. "That is cruelty." "No," Sarah said quietly. "Cruelty is what you did to my brother in your research facilities. Cruelty is poisoning children for 50 years. Cruelty is starting wars to reduce population growth. This is justice." The transformation of the galaxy had begun. Within weeks, human fleets were helping former Council subjects rebuild their worlds and reclaim their independence. The genetic reversal treatments were distributed freely to any species that wanted them. The files documenting Council crimes were made available to everyone. But most importantly, humanity took up the role they had been meant to play from the beginning. They became the protectors of the innocent and the enemies of tyrants. They did not rule the galaxy through fear and lies. They guided it through strength and truth. The Council had been right to fear awakened humanity, but they had been wrong about why. Humans were not dangerous because they were cool or violent. They were dangerous because they remembered what justice looked like, and they had the power to make it real. The beast was fully awake now, and it would never sleep again.